Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle, by Emily Nagoski, Ph.D., and Amelia Nagoski, D.M.A. Introduction. A middle school teacher named Julie recently answered the question, "How are you?" with a startlingly honest reply. She said, "I've decided to start selling drugs so I can quit my job." She was joking, of course. But not really. She was just a few days away from the start of a new school year, and the dread had become so intense that she found herself reaching for a glass of wine before the afternoon had even properly begun. She felt overwhelmed, exhausted by everything she had to do, and yet, deep down, she still worried she wasn't doing enough. This feeling. This is the quiet epidemic of our time. It's a state of being we've come to call burnout, and for so many of us, it feels like a personal failure. We think, if I just tried harder, organized my life better, drank more green smoothies, or practiced more mindfulness, I could fix this. But what if burnout isn't a personal failure at all? What if it's the result of a profound misunderstanding about how our bodies and minds are designed to work? Today, we're going to explore a remarkable book called Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle, written by two brilliant sisters, Emily Nagoski, a health educator with a Ph.D., and Amelia Nagoski, a professional choral conductor with a doctorate in musical arts. This isn't just another self-help book filled with bubble baths and gratitude journals. This is a guide, grounded in science, that reveals a fundamental secret about stress, a secret that, once you understand it, can genuinely change the way you navigate the pressures of modern life. The authors make a bold promise. The problem isn't the stress in your life. The problem is getting stuck in it. By the end of our time together, you will understand the one crucial distinction that most of us miss our entire lives. You'll learn that dealing with the things that cause you stress is a completely separate process from dealing with the stress itself. And understanding that difference, that is the key to unlocking the stress cycle, and, ultimately, reclaiming your energy, your joy, and your life. It's about learning that wellness is not a state you achieve, but an action you take, every single day. Book summary. Let's start with a simple but profound idea that sits at the very heart of this book. Imagine you're walking through an ancient savanna. Suddenly, you spot it. A lion. Instantly, your body does something miraculous. A cascade of hormones like adrenaline and cortisol floods your system. Your heart pounds, pushing blood to your muscles. Your breathing quickens. Your senses sharpen. Your entire being shifts into a single, focused state with one goal: survival. In this moment, your body isn't thinking about digesting your lunch or fighting off a cold. It's preparing you to either fight or, more wisely, to run. So you run. You run as fast as you can, back to the safety of your village. Your friends see you coming. They grab their spears, and together you fight off the lion. You survive. You celebrate. You take a deep, shuddering breath of relief, surrounded by the people you love. The sun feels warmer, the air sweeter. You feel safe. In that moment, something crucial has happened. Not only have you dealt with the stressor, the lion, but you have also completed the stress response cycle. Your body has physically done the thing it was preparing to do. It ran. It fought. And now, it knows the threat is gone. It can return to a state of rest and recovery. Now, let's bring this into the 21st century. The lion today isn't a predator lurking in the grass. It's an infuriating email from your boss. It's a stack of bills on the kitchen counter. It's navigating a difficult conversation with someone you care about, or simply the relentless pressure of a never-ending to-do list. When these things happen, your body reacts in much the same way as it did to the lion. That same flood of stress hormones courses through you. But here's the problem: You can't run from your inbox. You can't physically fight a looming deadline. Instead, you sit at your desk, smile politely in a tense meeting, and swallow the stress. You might deal with the stressor, you answer the email, you pay the bills, you finish the project. You might even solve the problem completely. But your body is still revved up, flooded with stress chemicals, waiting for the signal that you are safe. And this is the secret, the central idea of burnout. Dealing with your stressors is a separate process from dealing with the stress itself. Just because the lion is gone doesn't mean the stress cycle is complete. If the lion had been struck by lightning, the threat would be over, but your heart would still be hammering in your chest. Your body would still be screaming, "Run!" To your nervous system. The stress is just a cloud of physiological activation that needs to be discharged. Until you do something that signals to your body that you have survived the threat, you remain stuck in the middle of that cycle. When this happens day after day, that unresolved stress accumulates. It's like leaving a fire hose on inside your arteries, slowly wearing them down. It compromises your immune system, your digestive system, your ability to think clearly, and your emotional stability. The authors put it starkly, in our modern world, the stress itself will often kill you faster than the stressor will. So, if solving the problem doesn't solve the stress, what does? How do we complete the cycle? The answer, the authors say, is beautifully simple. You have to speak your body's language. And its language is action. The single most efficient way to complete the stress response cycle is through physical activity. This doesn't have to mean running a marathon. It can be dancing in your living room for 20 minutes, going for a brisk walk, swimming, or even just standing up, tensing every muscle in your body for 20 seconds, and then releasing with a huge exhale. Physical movement is what tells your brain, "I have survived the threat. I am safe now." It burns off the stress chemicals and allows your body to return to that state of rest. This is why exercise is so universally recommended for stress management, not just because it's good for you, but because it is the biological mechanism for signaling safety to your nervous system. But movement isn't the only way. The authors offer a toolbox of other evidence-based strategies. One is breathing. Deep, slow breaths, especially with a long, complete exhale, down-regulate the stress response. It's a simple, gentle way to tell your body it's okay to relax. Another is positive social interaction. Something as simple as complimenting a stranger's earrings or sharing a friendly word with a barista sends a signal to your brain that the world is, for the most part, a safe and sane place. Laughter, real, deep, helpless belly laughs, is another powerful tool. It's an ancient evolutionary system mammals use to regulate emotions and form social bonds. Affection is also profoundly effective. A warm, 20-second hug with someone you trust can change your hormone levels, lower your heart rate, and tell your body you've made it back to the safety of your tribe. Relationship researcher John Gottman suggests a 6-second kiss every day for the same reason. It's long enough to require you to stop and connect, reminding your body that you are safe and loved. Sometimes, the answer is a big cry. Crying isn't a sign of weakness, it's a physiological process. When you feel that wave of emotion and you let it move through you, you are completing the cycle. You might not have changed the situation, but you have discharged the stress. And finally, there's creative expression. Painting, writing, playing, music, these activities create a safe container for big emotions, allowing you to move through the tunnel of your feelings and come out the other side. All of these strategies have one thing in common: they are actions. Completing the cycle isn't an intellectual decision. You can't just tell yourself, "I'm calm now." You have to do something that allows your body to make that physiological shift from threat to safety. This simple, powerful idea, that you must complete the stress cycle, is the first major key the book gives us. But as we all know, life is filled with more than just fleeting moments of stress. Sometimes, we face long-term frustrations and seemingly impossible goals. This brings us to the second key idea, understanding what the authors call the monitor. Imagine your brain has a little manager inside, a monitor, whose job is to keep track of your goals. It knows where you are, where you want to go, and it has a very strong opinion about how much effort it should take to get there. Think about driving to the mall. Your monitor expects it to take about 20 minutes. If you hit all green lights and get there in 15, you feel great. Less effort, more progress. Satisfied monitor. But if you get stuck in traffic, and 20 minutes later you're only halfway there, you start to feel frustrated, then angry. High effort, little progress, enraged monitor. If you sit there long enough, something shifts. Your monitor switches its assessment from attainable to unattainable, and you fall off an emotional cliff into a pit of despair. You feel helpless, hopeless. You just want to go home. That feeling of wanting to just lie face down on the floor, that's the pit of despair. For women, this chasm between where we are and where the world tells us we should be can feel enormous. We should have a perfect career, a tidy home, happy children, and a flawless body. And when our progress feels impossibly slow or effortful, our monitor goes into overdrive, leading to frustration, and eventually, that helpless despair. So how do we manage this? The authors give us two powerful strategies. The first is planful problem solving. This is for the stressors you can control. You analyze the problem, make a plan, and execute it. If you're stuck in traffic, you use a GPS to find a new route. This is the logic of to-do lists, calendars, and budgets. But what about the things you can't control? The difficult boss, the systemic injustice, the fact that you will inevitably fail sometimes on the path to a big goal? For these, we need the second strategy, positive reappraisal. This isn't just about looking on the bright side. It's about recognizing that the struggle itself has value. It's understanding that difficulty is often an opportunity for growth and learning. Research shows that we often learn more and create better solutions when things are a little difficult. Students remember more from a text that's printed in a slightly hard-to-read font. Our muscles grow stronger only when we challenge them with effort. Positive reappraisal is about reframing the struggle not as a sign of failure, but as a necessary part of the process of becoming stronger. But there's another piece to managing our monitor, and that's adjusting its expectations. Sometimes, the most powerful thing we can do is redefine winning. If your goal is perfection, in your work, your parenting, your life, you are setting yourself up for failure, because perfection is an impossible goal. Instead, the authors suggest, find incremental goals that are soon, certain, positive, concrete, specific, and personal. Amelia, one of the authors and a conductor, tells a story about a grueling recording session. The goal was perfection, take after take, and the choir was burning out. So she proposed a new goal: let's fill Andrew, the recording engineer, with joy. Suddenly, the energy shifted. The task became a playful, achievable goal, and the frustration melted away. This leads us to a deeper, more challenging question that underlies all of our struggles with burnout. Why are we doing any of this in the first place? This is where the authors introduce the powerful concept of meaning. Meaning, they explain, isn't something you find at the end of a long journey. It's what sustains you on the journey. It's the feeling that your life matters in some larger sense. It's your connection to something larger than yourself, whether that's ambitious goals, service to a higher power, or loving, intimate connections with others. But for many women, The path to finding and living this meaning is blocked by a powerful cultural force the authors call human giver syndrome. Drawing on the work of philosopher Kate Mann, they describe a world divided into two kinds of people: human beings and human givers. Human beings have a moral obligation to express their full humanity. Human givers, on the other hand, have a moral obligation to give their full humanity, their time, their attention, their bodies, their emotions, cheerfully and placidly to the human beings. Guess which one women are expected to be? A human giver must, at all times, be pretty, happy, calm, generous, and attentive to the needs of others. She must never be ugly, angry, upset, ambitious, or attentive to her own needs. If she dares to have needs, or to express a messy emotion like anger or grief, she is violating her role, and she may be punished for it. Human giver syndrome is the disease that creates burnout. It traps women in an impossible situation where they are not free to complete their stress cycles. They can't just go for a run or have a good cry, because that would be selfishly attending to their own needs instead of someone else's. This brings us to the most provocative part of the book, Part 2, which the authors call the real enemy. They argue that most self-help books for women fail because they only focus on things the individual can control, without ever mentioning that the game itself is rigged. They use a metaphor from the Hunger Games. Katniss's mentor tells her to remember who the real enemy is. It's not the other children she's forced to fight. It's the system that created the game in the first place. For women experiencing burnout, the real enemy is a society built on the foundations of patriarchy and human giver syndrome. The authors use research on rats to explain a concept called learned helplessness. When an animal is repeatedly put in a bad situation it can't escape, like a rat forced to swim in a tank with no exit, it eventually stops trying to escape, even when an escape route is later provided. Its brain has learned that nothing it does makes a difference. This, they argue, is what it feels like to be a woman navigating a world filled with chronic, mild stressors, the constant, low-level stream of sexism, body shaming, being interrupted, and being expected to do the lion's share of unpaid emotional and domestic labor. Worse still is the experience of gaslighting, where the system tells you that these problems don't exist, that you're just imagining them or being too sensitive. Like in the movie Gaslight, where a husband tries to convince his wife she's going insane, the world often tells women, whatever is wrong, it's your fault. You just haven't tried hard enough. One of the most insidious enemies is what the authors call the bikini industrial complex. This is the multi-billion-dollar industry that profits from setting an impossible beauty ideal, convinces us we must achieve it, and then sells us products that don't work. They reveal the shocking truth that the body mass index (BMI), our culture's primary measure of health, is largely unscientific and was promoted by people with financial interests in the weight loss industry. In fact, large-scale studies show that being in the overweight category can be healthier than being at the low end of the normal range. The stigma against fat is more dangerous to people's health than the fat itself. The message is clear: your body is not the enemy. The enemy is a culture that profits from making you believe your body is a problem to be solved. So, if we are facing these huge, systemic enemies, what can we possibly do? This is where the book brings all its wisdom together in the final section, Wax On, Wax Off, a reference to the Karate. The solutions aren't grand, dramatic gestures. They are small, daily practices that, over time, help us grow mighty. The first practice is connection. Humans are not built to be autonomous islands. We are biologically wired to connect. Connection isn't just a warm, fuzzy feeling, it's a biological necessity, as important as food and water. When we are with people we trust, our bodies literally co-regulate. Our heart rates synchronize, our stress responses are buffered, and our immune systems function better. The authors call this safe space the bubble of love, built on trust and connected knowing, the ability to understand someone by stepping into their shoes, rather than judging them from a distance. Sadness, rage, and the feeling of not being enough are all forms of loneliness. The antidote is connection. The second practice is rest. Our culture worships exhaustion as a status symbol. But the science is clear: rest is what makes us stronger. It's not just about sleep. Our brains are designed to oscillate between focused work and rest. When your mind wanders, it's not being lazy. Your brain's default mode network is online, processing information and solving problems in the background. The authors deliver a startling number. On average, we need to spend 42% of our time, about 10 hours a day, on rest. This includes 8 hours of sleep opportunity, plus time for physical activity, mindful eating, and social connection. If you don't take the 42%, they warn, the 42% will take you, in the form of illness, injury, or breakdown. Getting the rest you need isn't self-indulgent, it is an act of resistance. The final practice, and perhaps the most profound, is self-compassion. Many of us live with a harsh inner critic, a madwoman in the attic, as the authors call her, borrowing from Jane Eyre. This is the part of us that has the impossible job of bridging the gap between who we are and who human giver syndrome tells us we should be. She whips us with criticism and shame, believing that this is the only way to motivate us. We resist self-compassion because we think we need the whip to achieve anything. But the authors argue the opposite is true. Self-compassion doesn't kill motivation, it fuels it with a cleaner, more sustainable energy. The first step is to befriend your madwoman. Personify her, understand her fear and her pain, and treat her with the same kindness you would offer a struggling friend. This doesn't mean letting her run the show. It means acknowledging her, thanking her for trying to protect you, and then gently reminding her that you, the adult, are in charge now. When you turn toward your own internal experience with this kindness, something revolutionary happens. The world doesn't have to change for you to begin to heal. By being kind to yourself, you increase the kindness in the world. You become a source of strength not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. In the end, Burnout is not a book about achieving a state of perpetual happiness. It's about finding joy. Happiness, the authors say, depends on what's happening around you. But joy arises from an internal clarity about your purpose, a connection to something larger than yourself. And that joy isn't found in isolation. It's found in the mutual exchange of care and support among all of us. The cure for burnout is not self-care. It is all of us caring for one another. Commentary. As we wrap up our journey through burnout, I find myself circling back to that one single idea that feels like a key turning in a lock that's been rusted shut for generations: the separation of the stressor from the stress. It's so simple, yet it reframes everything. For so long, we've been taught that the path to peace is to eliminate problems. To get to inbox zero, to finish the project, to resolve the conflict. We believe that once the lion is gone, we should feel calm. And when we don't, we think there's something wrong with us. We feel anxious about our anxiety, stressed about our stress. What Emily and Amelia Nagoski do so brilliantly is give us permission to feel the way we feel. They tell us that our bodies are not broken, they are simply responding to a threat, and they need our help to feel safe again. This shift from self-blame to self-compassion is the first step toward true wellness. It's the difference between fighting against your body and working with it. In a world that constantly demands more from us, more productivity, more perfection, more giving, this book is a powerful act of resistance. It's a scientifically backed declaration that you are a human being with biological limits and needs, not a machine to be optimized. The idea that we require 42% of our time for rest feels radical, almost scandalous, in our hustle-obsessed culture. But it's not a suggestion, it's a biological fact. And hearing it stated so plainly feels like a deep, collective exhale. So, how can you start applying these profound lessons to your own life, right now? Here are 3 simple actions you can take today. First, tonight, I want you to consciously complete the cycle. After a long day of school, work, or just life, schedule 20 minutes for yourself. It could be a brisk walk around the block, putting on your favorite song and dancing with abandon, having a long hug with a family member or a pet, or even just having a good, cathartic cry over a sad movie. Don't do it to be productive or to check a box. Do it with the intention of telling your body, the lion is gone. You are safe. Notice how you feel afterward. Second, the next time you feel that hot surge of frustration, because you're stuck in traffic, or a project isn't going as planned, pause and ask yourself this one question: is this a controllable stressor, or an uncontrollable one? If it's controllable, engage your planful problem-solving brain. Make a new plan. But if it's uncontrollable, practice positive reappraisal. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this struggle? How is this difficulty making me stronger? This simple question can shift you from a state of helpless rage to one of empowered learning. And third, begin to befriend your mad woman in the attic. The next time you hear that harsh, critical voice in your head telling you you're not good enough, don't fight it. Instead, get curious. Give it a name. Maybe it's perfectionist Patty or anxious Annie. Then, speak to it with kindness. Say, I hear you. Thank you for trying to protect me. But I've got this. This small act of personifying and befriending your inner critic is the first step toward disarming its power and reclaiming your own inner peace. That was a summary of Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle, by Emily and Amelia Nagoski. We've explored the core ideas today, but I have to be honest with you, a summary is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. The real magic happens when you actually travel there yourself. It's in the quiet moments of reading, when a particular story or a simple phrase connects with you in a way you didn't expect. This podcast is here to help you decide if this book is worth your time and attention. If anything we've talked about has resonated, that feeling of being overwhelmed, the frustration of a rigged game, or the deep need for rest and connection, then I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning new information. It's an experience that can genuinely change the relationship you have with yourself and the world around you. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable and it gave you a new perspective, please take a moment to click that like button and subscribe to the channel. It lets us know we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.